And nobody says that for like sports stars. It's like you have a competition and you're the best. Nobody's like, we need to have our own Black NBA. We need to have our own Black MVP award. Like, you just want to make a show and you want an organization that recognizes it as the best, and you want it to be fair and you want it to be measured in that way.
Now, Insecure, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, hasn't won a Golden Globe or an Emmy, correct? Been nominated, I know.
Yeah, the post team of Insecure won an Emmy, so we can say we're an Emmy-nominated show. But no, the show, none of the actors have won any of those awards.
So, how much do you care about that?
How much do I care? I really am happy to be nominated. I don't stew in it like at all. It's just, it's just like, I don't like to lose, but those award shows are different for some reason. It's just, it's a party and it's a celebration. And for me, it was always about like the nominations get attention for the show. And that's what I love, but I don't know how much I care, to be honest. I'm not sure. I don't know I won't know unless maybe I have a show and it gets no attention and I might feel away. So who knows?
Well, did you feel even more of a way, or maybe even less of a way? Maybe you gave less than a fuck when, I don't know if you saw the report that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which determines the Golden Globe nominations, they have had no Black members and haven't had any in a while. And I know that's no shock to you, probably. It certainly wasn't to me, but to a lot of people, they're like, what? Like, you couldn't tell? But at any rate, when you see that and you know that the representation is not even there to appreciate a show like yours, does that make you give less, kind of like these awards, like, fuck them, who cares? You know what I'm saying?
For the Globes in particular, and even before I entered the industry, those rumors were always rampant of like, oh, they're bought and all these things. And then I went through the process myself and was like, oh, this is how it is. Okay, cool. And you kind of just know what it is. So in that way, no, I understand it. And I'm not surprised. I've seen, the members, and in that way, I was very much aware of how things went down. I think the Emmys are different because they're purported to be this like the academy. And I think, to go back to your other question, I care in that this is supposed to represent the best of television. And I think I hear the chatter of like, oh, awards don't need to validate us. We need to create our own, blah, blah. And nobody says that for like sports stars. It's like you have a competition and you're the best. Nobody's like, we need to have our own Black NBA. We need to have our own Black MVP award. Like, you just want to make a show and you want an organization that recognizes it as the best, and you want it to be fair and you want it to be measured in that way. And so in that way, like, that's I want to be a part of an organization like that. And that's what the Grammys should be. That's what the Emmys should be. That's what all these award shows should represent. And so with the Globes in particular, I remember I knew that I was going to wake up that day and see that I May Destroy You would get multiple nominations just because of how incredible that show was. And to see that had not been recognized, to me, that was just like, oh, what are we doing here? We're good.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, if it makes you, not that you feel, sad or anything, but The Wire never got shit either.
I know, that shit is wild.
Yeah. And people often, it's religiously put into the category of being perhaps the best television show ever. And to know that they didn't get shit, it was just like, wow, not even a nomination, which is kind of crazy. I think they got some shit for writing, but that was, pretty much it. I know you recently acknowledged that it's the 10-year anniversary of Awkward Black Girl, correct?
It is, yes.
So when you think about, when you think about who you were then versus who you are now, what comes to mind?
Oh man, there was more of a fearlessness that I didn't recognize that I had back then. Because that was the fearlessness of there are no eyes on you and you're hungry and you want it, and like there was just I'm just gonna make it, and I think a little bit of that is gone in the sense that it doesn't feel like there's nothing to lose anymore, you know. And I think fondly on those times. They were very, you know, broke times. They were very frustrating times. They were very like, what the fuck am I doing? And how long am I going to keep on pretending to do it times? But yeah, it was just, you know, I think the irritation, the anger fueled me, the seeing the same people get these different opportunities to make these limited portrayals of Black people frustrated me. Seeing us constantly overlooked, that's what ultimately made me want to start creating. And it's so interesting to look now. And you know, I talked a lot of shit online back then too. She was like, that girl back then was a big shit talker. And so it's so interesting now to be on the receiving end of shit talking, of people who, like, you know, might view me in the way that I might have viewed someone else during that time. And I find that very, very interesting.
When, you know, obviously, as you mentioned, those were tough times. You were, you know, broke. But I find that people in your position often enjoy the process more and appreciate it more once a success has come. Does success now feel like you thought it would feel?
Does it feel like I thought it would feel? In some ways. Like, I feel happy. I feel like I'll put it like this, because I've never called myself successful, but I feel like at least I'm on the path that I want to be on. And I feel like I have the terrain to get to where I want to go. And that feels good. But I didn't realize how insatiable I'd be. You know, I didn't realize, like, oh, you know, I call it a moving goalpost. Like, I didn't realize how many balls I would be kicking, you know, and constantly being like, okay, made that. Well, what's the next one? And one of the lessons that I'm learning now is to be satisfied, you know, and to celebrate a bit more.
You know, that's kind of impossible, right?
What you mean?
I mean, it's hard because I've thought about this a lot, about what it feels like, you know, and people will look at my career, and I certainly look at you as a big success, but it doesn't feel like you think it would feel. Like, I think you expect a completion that, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, once I make it, but make it is like elastic. It's infinity. It like never happens.
Exactly.
And so I'm just like, no, it actually doesn't quite feel like I thought it would feel. Not in a bad way. It's just I'm always on to the next thing. And it sounds like, and especially given the myriad of projects that you're doing now, it feels like you are always on to the next thing.
It's true. And I'm on in a constant state of, I still feel like proving myself. But the only way to feel successful to me is to look back. Like, I think, and I don't know that I look back that often until like the anniversary of Awkward Black Girl. The 10-year was just like, wow. And then even seeing, you know, some of the faces that were involved in this series, and thinking about the time. And I remember being in that time and feeling like, you know, excited, but also extremely frustrated then too, of just like, so much is going on. But now, of course, I can look back on it and be like, man, those were such good times. But I'm still glad I'm not there.
Right, because I know you would prefer to be cashing these checks. I understand.
Hello.
I get it.
Yes.
Yes, I get it.